Welcome to the Harmony Behind the Notes. If you haven't watched the first 3 videos in this series, I'd highly recommend them. In the previous 2 videos, we talked about rhythm. In this video, we're going to be talking about pitch. Now, before I get into note positions, I want to quickly explain the staff. Well, it's also known as the stave, but in this video, I'm just going to refer to it as the staff. You'll notice that we're using 2 staffs, and that's because this particular sheet music is piano music. So we need a staff for each hand. This here is a treble clef representing our right hand, and this is a bass clef representing our left hand. This is important for reasons you'll understand once I've explained how to actually read the pitch of a note. Which, that being said, the pitch of the note is determined by its position on the actual staff. Each line and space represents a different pitch. Let's have a look at the treble staff first. Now the first line on the treble staff is E, and it goes up in alphabetical order to F. On the bass staff, it starts on G and ends on A. So the positions are a little different. Now you can put notes off the staff. If I put a note below the first line of the treble staff, it would be a D, and one below that, which we draw a line through it to show its position, that would be a C. Now that C is actually the same note as the C above the bass staff. So you can see we have B and then C, and both C's sound exactly the same because they represent the same notes. This is why note positions are different between the treble staff and the bass staff. There are other clefs, that is to say the symbol that we use to label the staff, that exist, but that's for another video. Right now, I just want to focus on the note positions and how they relate to pitches. Have a look at the next example here on the bass staff. You'll notice that as we move a note lower and lower, we draw more lines as a visual indication of how far below the staff the note is. The treble clef's exactly the same, except of course we're moving up. Now different instruments have different ranges, but in this case we are talking about piano. The lowest note on a standard piano is labeled as A0. 7 notes above that and we have A1, and 7 notes above that is A2, and so on and so forth. As you can see on our bass staff, the highest note on a standard piano is labeled as C8. 7 notes below that would be C7, and so on and so forth. Let me explain why I'm suddenly including numbers. The concept that I want you to understand is that we use 7 notes to describe pitches, A through to G. But there's not only 7 notes in music, so we repeat labels as we need. Have a listen here. Those are both C's. They sound the same, except one is an octave higher. This is why we use the same letter to describe the pitch, and if we want to get more specific, we add a number. So in this case, we have C4 and C5. This, by the way, is also considered middle C. The last concept I want to explore in this video is sharps and flats. Between an F and a G would be an F sharp. Between a G and an A would be a G sharp. Between an A and a B would be an A sharp, and so on and so forth. These are pitches that are halfway between 2 notes. But not all notes have sharps. There's no sharp between a B and a C, or between an E and an F. Now we call these halfway notes semitones. So the notes we've been looking at on our staff are all tones. In between the tones are semitones. Now the difference between a sharp and a flat is purely down to the direction we're moving. So a D sharp is actually the same note as an E flat. Let me explain. To get to a D sharp, we took a D and we moved it up a semitone. To get to an E flat, we took an E and moved it down a semitone. They sound exactly the same because we arrived at the same note. The result is the same pitch. I want to conclude this video by giving you some tips that I have learned to help me get to know which note is which on the staff, and therefore to be able to read music faster. The first is mnemonics. In the treble staff, we have every good boy deserves fudge for the lines, and for the spaces, well, they spell out face. In the bass staff, we have good boys deserve fudge always for the lines, and all cows eat grass for the spaces. Look, the truth is the letters aren't as important as the pitches. The letters are just something we use to label different pitches. The pitches are what actually matter. One of the things I've learned over the years is to follow the direction of the notes as opposed to converting them into labels and then into muscle movements to produce different notes on whatever instrument I'm playing. So when I read music, I'm really just following the direction of the notes. If you're struggling to get good at reading music, I'd highly recommend learning scales, arpeggios, and intervals. If you've never heard of those terms before, or you have but you don't really know what they mean, don't worry, I will be explaining all of them in future videos. See you in the next one.